Welcome, listener. This is Suyana reading Chapter 18 from the All-Inclusive Approach, The Art of Divine Remembrance, entitled Creating a Routine. There is a reason why we as adults recognize the value of creating routines for children. We understand the stability and consistency a routine provides, offering security during their developmental years while maintaining structure in their daily activities and steady momentum toward progress. So why, as adults, especially those on a seeker's path, do we often cast routine and consistency aside? How can we feel grounded and safe to explore the depths of our inner selves when our outer world is chaotic? Recently, a dear friend made a commitment to offer her professional services to another friend in need, free of charge. A few days before the event, however, she retracted her agreement to avoid feeling some less than desirable emotions. She explained that whenever she commits to something, she later feels resentful and stressed about keeping her word. So, in an effort to prevent those feelings, she decided to break her promise. I can relate. As adults, we often associate commitments, obligations, and responsibilities with restriction, oppression, and inconvenience. We think, if only I were free to do what I want, whenever I want. The problem with this perspective is that routine, structure, and commitment are the foundation of freedom. They are the cornerstones of peace, harmony, and balance. Imagine for a moment two buoys, one anchored to a specific location and the other drifting wherever the tide takes it. The anchored buoy experiences the ebbs and flows of the tides, sees the beauty, feels the sensations of the water, and observes the boats and marine life passing by. Yet it also enjoys the quality of consistency in its experience and orientation point. With this steadiness comes the freedom to witness all that God presents with openness and presence. Now imagine the unanchored buoy, tossed about by the tides of the ocean and subject to ever-changing external factors that dictate its position, orientation, and opportunities. This buoy must remain vigilant, deciphering its location and surroundings because it is entirely controlled by external conditions. It has no freedom to relax unless the environment happens to allow it. Its experiences are dictated entirely by forces outside of itself. This is what it feels like to function without routine, structure, or commitment. A commitment is a promise we make to ourselves and others. We guide children to honor commitments so they learn integrity, but as adults, we often create negative associations with routine, structure, and obligation. We break our promises. Why wouldn't we? The structure we experienced as children was often not of our choosing. The routine we maintained was rarely self-made. Commitments and obligations were frequently imposed, leaving us feeling disempowered and unfulfilled, and disconnected from our true inner guidance system. Why would we want to establish a lifetime reminiscent of childhood when we associate those things with inauthenticity and restriction? Because now, as adults, we have the power to choose. My friend who broke her promise was likely feeling echoes of childhood disempowerment when she began to reconsider her obligation. She may have feared it would restrict her freedom to live spontaneously and authentically. But the repercussions of breaking her promise impacted several relationships, most importantly, the relationship with herself. Living as an untethered buoy creates more stress and fear than freedom and empowerment. What we truly want to cultivate is the discernment to choose commitments that feel harmonious and nourishing, not the avoidance of commitments altogether. That wisdom arises from being grounded and centered in ourselves like the anchored buoy. I struggled with the same things she did. I feared that committing to something now might negatively impact me in the future. I worried I might not be able to maintain my commitment and would disappoint someone in the process. Most of all, I feared I was committing to the wrong things and would resent my responsibilities if they were not in harmony with the person I was or the person I might become. This was life lived in limbo. It was stressful, directionless, and blocked my access to the harmony, peace, and balance I longed to experience on a regular basis. So, I committed to two things. First, I promised myself I would take the time I needed to make decisions. If someone needed an answer right away and couldn't wait, the answer was no. Second, I pledged to honor my commitments, whether they felt perfectly aligned at the time or not. I figured if I said yes, then I was meant to do it. This approach sometimes meant that decisions took longer to make, but I was okay with that because it reinforced that harmony and alignment were amongst my highest qualities, and they continue to be. I was worthy of the time and space needed to ensure my choices honored those values and that I was making the decision from a grounded and centered place. What do you do when faced with the choice to commit or not to commit? The phrase know thyself comes to mind. Perhaps you'd like to try what I did. Make a few unbendable promises to yourself. What vow could you make to empower your decisions and choose your commitments wisely? Meet any resistance you feel toward previous commitments with curiosity, viewing it as evidence of negative associations your mind has created about responsibility, commitment, and obligation. Take a moment to write down your definition of those three words in your journal: responsibility, commitment, obligation. Now look them up in the dictionary. Each word has multiple meanings. Which definition resonates with you? Find 2 or 3 synonyms that feel most harmonious and begin using those words in place of responsibility, commitment, and obligation. This practice can help you reframe your relationship with these important qualities and create a foundation of an empowered, free existence. As you bring this new framework into your awareness, remember this truth. When we are in harmony with our inner spirit, connected to the infinite wisdom and intelligence of all that is, we choose commitments that empower us. We take on responsibilities that feel juicy and aligned, and we honor our obligations with curiosity, enthusiasm, and openness. This is because we understand that we made those arrangements from a place of authenticity and connection, not from fear, insecurity, or scarcity. Now that you've begun to create a new framework around commitment, you can make a diligent study of one of the most interesting topics you'll ever explore. You. You are diverse, complicated, and fascinating. You are also wondrous, multifaceted, and ever-changing. It's fair to assume that a commitment you make today may not resonate with you in a year, a month, or even a week. But knowing yourself, establishing routines, and developing empowering habits allows you to make informed decisions consistently. Without this foundation, you're operating with old programming, allowing resistance to change your stability determine your behavior. And that keeps you stuck in uncertainty, overwhelm, and confusion, aimlessly adrift like the unanchored buoy. I know that is not the intention you have set for yourself. You want to grow, expand, and thrive. You want direction and clarity. You want to tap into the supreme consciousness, embody your true purpose, and feel fulfilled in your daily activities and tasks. You desire self-realization, and you want it now. And I want that for you too. But first, you have to get out of your own way, developing a daily, weekly, monthly routine that supports your intentions, carries you from the known into the unknown. And it gives you orientation points to meet the unknown with openness and curiosity. Routine infuses your daily activities with consistency and integrity. You know you can count on yourself because you keep following through on the intentions you've set for yourself. And spontaneity can be part of that routine too, just as easily as working out or reading for 30 minutes at bedtime. It's about creating a rhythm for your life that best suits you. Ask yourself, what are your goals? What daily activities can you implement to move closer to those goals? How can you express the manifestation of those goals through your current habits? What will motivate you to persist even in the face of opposition? Opposition that arises as external obstacles, internal challenges, and resistance. Opposition that fuels your growth by highlighting the aspects of yourself that need to be evolved, dissolved, or resolved to welcome your desires and more. There are practical things we can all benefit from committing to right now. Most easily identifiable: self-care and healthy habits. Exercise, even if it's just dancing around your house to your favorite songs or walking around the block regularly, sends a powerful message to yourself. I care about you, and I'm willing to take great care of you. It also invites life force energy to continue to flow to you and through you on a regular basis. Eating whole, natural foods, avoiding processed, GMO, or nutrient-poor options can dramatically improve your ability to move closer to your ideal physical expression. This doesn't mean cutting out comfort foods entirely or immediately and settling into a state of deprivation. Start by adding more nutrient-dense options to your meals and build from there. Take a moment to check in with yourself, whether through meditation, reflection, or integrating the events of your day. This aligns you with your highest potential. It is the act of self-awareness. All these practices can reveal self-sabotaging habits and beliefs ready to be seen and released. When self-defeating patterns arise, you can implement mindful breathing to reduce emotional reactivity or lashing out. By giving these patterns respect and compassionate attention, you create space for your new reality to flourish. What if you've tried and failed? It's okay. You may have encountered resistance and felt safer returning to the familiar. That's natural. Try. Try again. Keep going. Sometimes old habits win, and the new paradigm isn't strong enough yet to stick. But the momentum is still building. What can you do in the meantime? You can make your goal a task to achieve in the present. Let the future desired result subside and focus on the present expression of self-care being implemented. Let's say you want to be physically fit. It's been your goal for a while, but results have been inconsistent. What routine could you establish now to align with the reality of being fit? Take the future out of the goal and make it a tangible daily task. Maybe you decide your future fit self loves morning walks or finds peace in a daily yoga practice. That future self can only exist if your present self establishes the habit. By implementing the action now, you empower your present moment without an agenda. There's no waiting for your future self to arrive. Instead, you cultivate a practice that feels good now. And that is enough. These end results don't magically appear just because you want them badly. If you continue to wake up, hit snooze, grab your favorite electronic device, and start the coffee maker, guess what future self you're creating? As adults, we have far more freedom to choose our routines and daily patterns than we did as children. Are we nourishing ourselves and implementing our free will wisely? It's not easy to create new habits, but it is doable. It requires persistence, commitment, yeah, the C word again, and a plan. You can decide what's important to you and work toward integrating those priorities into your daily experience through intentional commitments. At first, it will require willpower, which might mean inconsistency. But as you develop the skills of the all-inclusive approach, you'll transition from willpower to wisdom power, aka free will. This shift originates not from the dominant mind, but from the attuned, innate knowing of the soul. Let's get back to that fit future self you're envisioning. The present self is the birthplace of the dream and the determining factor in bringing it to fruition. You know yourself better than anyone else, so I am not going to tell you what to do, whether it's taking a walk, joining a gym, practicing yoga, or doing 50 sit-ups each morning. That's up to you. What I will tell you is this: whatever you decide, commit to it each day. Commit to 21 days. Make a long-term goal to keep your daily commitment for no fewer than 21 days. Whatever you decide to do, stick with it for 21 consecutive days. If you miss a day, start over, begin the cycle anew until you complete the 21-day commitment without interruption. And set yourself up for success. If you know Sundays are a day when everyone in the house sleeps in and watches cartoons, commit to a 6-day practice with 1 day of rest. If you manage to do 4 days that week, celebrate your progress, and then start a fresh 21-day cycle until you fulfill your plan as intended. Evaluate and recommit. Once you've completed the 21 days, take time to evaluate and recommit. Maybe you'll realize you can do more, add something to the routine, reach a little farther, or move closer to the full expression of your dreams. Remember, progress happens 1 day at a time, so focus on the day and the task at hand. Be present with the activity rather than obsessing over the end result. The cumulative effect of your actions will naturally flow from your consistent daily practice and focus. Those who can't commit can't achieve. Habits are born of inspired action, not just desire. Desire brings the longing for growth into your conscious awareness. Action translates that desire into your current reality. Habits sustain the momentum, consistently attracting similar growth opportunities into your experience. Being on a spiritual path doesn't need to inhibit your intention to maintain or improve your physical reality. On the contrary, it can serve as a powerful motivator for your continued expression in this physical world, a world your soul enthusiastically chose to experience with, you guessed it, commitment. Just like the last couple chapters that I have completed, this one will be a combination of the audiobook and the reflection into one video. It seems like that format is more beneficial to people, so that's what I'm going to continue to do unless the chapters are really long. Chapter 18, called Creating a Routine, is all about establishing grounded patterns in your reality to nourish and to support your highest and best in all areas of life. The reflection for this chapter is: routine is not rigidity. It is devotion made visible. Structure becomes oppressive only when it is disconnected from intention. When aligned with your values, routine becomes an anchor, something that stabilizes your energy, protects your focus, and supports your evolution. Freedom is not the absence of commitment. It is the result of conscious commitment. This chapter invites you to redefine routine as an act of self-trust. This topic is so prevalent for me. I've moved like over 40 times. I've lived in all types of different living situations and had a very free-flowing life experience for a good majority of my life. And so establishing routine in my daily existence has been pretty elusive, is the best way I can describe it, for most of my life, to be honest with you. When I reflect on the routines in my life, it's been very, basic kind of rudimentary things. Like, of course, I always brush my teeth twice a day, things like that. And I guess I shouldn't even say of course, because I'm sure some people don't do that. But for me, I am highly adaptable. So every living situation that I ended up, I kind of melded myself into the patterns and the rhythms of the area that I was living in, or the people that I was cohabitating with, or the work that I was doing, what my schedule was with my employment. And there was just so many different variances that would change dramatically and frequently. So I feel pretty empathetic to anyone who struggles with creating routine in their life. Also, these later years in my life have been delving into the way that my mind works, and routine isn't a natural tendency for my mind the way that it works. So it's something that I do need to put the effort into establishing it. And then once they're established, once I've been practicing and, in all honesty, efforting for some time to create a routine, uh, I gain great benefit from it, and it becomes just a part of the way that I live. And I think that that might be true for a lot of people. But I do know people where it comes so much easier to them, and there's been moments where I'm like, can some of that rub off on me? I'd really like a little bit of that, but um, we're all designed the way we're designed for a reason. So the journal prompts for this chapter are: 1, what is my emotional relationship with structure? Does it feel supportive or restrictive? And why? Number 2, what early experiences shaped my perception of responsibility and commitment? Number 3, where in my life do I feel grounded and anchored? Where do I feel scattered and untethered? A lot of us can be really well suited to or routine and consistency in a certain aspect of our life, and in another aspect of our life, we just don't have the capacity for it. So it's interesting when you really start to look into it, what the associations you might have for your routine and consistency at work, for example, versus when you come home and you keep not getting the projects done that you want to, or you keep not following the lifestyle patterns that you're trying to implement. Where's the disconnect there? How does it become that you act this way in this environment and that way in that environment? Because oftentimes it tends to lead back to beliefs and associations that have been developed in your early life. And when you have access to reflecting and starting to see those patterns, it gives you the opportunity to be more empowered in the shifts that you're trying to make and the motivation and intention that you have behind those shifts. Journal prompt number 4, what small daily rhythm would most support the version of myself I am becoming? So this is really about investing in your future self. When you can take action now and implement strategies now to support the future self that you envision yourself to be, then your potential to call that into your experience increases. You're becoming more and more oriented that way. Because again, that future self that you're envisioning, it will be achieved through accumulative actions and patterns and habits and shifts, awakenings and evolution. So what can you do right now to set your future self up for success? Number 5, if routine were an expression of self-love rather than obligation, what would I create? What would I engage in? The exercise for our chapter 18 is called the Anchor into Alignment practice. And its purpose is to create structure that supports freedom rather than suppresses it. So step 1 is to redefine commitment. Write your current definition of commitment, then rewrite it as something empowering. So here are some examples. Commitment equals devotion. Responsibility equals integrity. Obligation equals alignment. The ways that you reframe these things so that you can start to get a little bit more consistent traction in them can be really helpful. I know it might seem like it's just semantics, it's just words, but words carry vibration, and our associations with those words carry impact. So you are being given the opportunity to empower yourself with the words that you use when you're trying to establish new empowering routines in your life. And step 2 is choose one anchor. Select one small daily practice that feels nourishing, not overwhelming, and is related to the version of you that you see when you imagine yourself being, existing, operating as that future self that we're talking about. Because whenever you become that being, it's going to be in the now. So the now is where the practice begins, and it is the same place where the practice is engaged in. And then it builds on itself until it becomes the habit. So some examples of this are 5 minutes of quiet breathing, just checking in with yourself, being still. That seems to be a really big deal for us now with how distracted we are all the time. You could also try morning sunlight exposure. That probably is more relative to location for most people. Or you can do an evening gratitude reflection, even just a few minutes of stretching before bed. Anything that you can think of that is manageable, something that you can get consistent about, and that feels like it's moving you in the direction that you have intended for yourself. And then commit to it for 21 days, not as a punishment, but as practice and self-trust, personal empowerment. If you miss a day, do not shame yourself, don't judge yourself, don't ridicule yourself, don't go off the wagon, just simply recommit. After 2 weeks, ask, does this routine feel like restriction or stability? Structure is not the enemy of freedom. Chaos is also not proof of creativity. The body thrives on rhythm, your own personal, dynamic, evolving rhythm. The mind relaxes in consistency, and the spirit expands when it's supported. So when you keep your word to yourself and you sustain intentional change and evolution, you strengthen the foundation upon which everything else in your life is built. You take the future out of the goal and make it a tangible daily activity. And that's where the momentum can continue to build in the direction that you want it to continue to build in, instead of maintaining a status quo that you judge, condemn, or demean yourself around. And I don't really know anyone that doesn't have one area, one specific topic in their life, in the way that they are in the world, in the way that they operate within their reality, that they wouldn't prefer to be different. Because we're evolutionary beings, we're here to expand and evolve. When we can address and engage with those aspects from a loving place of empowerment, of conscious intentionality, then those shifts and those evolutions can be invigorating. When we're coming at it from a problem to fix, and oftentimes us being the problem to fix, then it's really hard to stay consistent, because who wants to consistently be damning, condemning, and belittling themselves? Most of us don't want to do that all day, every day. The quote to contemplate for this chapter is, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." And that is from Aristotle. And I love that the word was excellence and not perfection, because it is so much more useful to strive for excellence than it is to strive for perfection. Thank you so much for connecting with me today in this chapter and this discussion and reflection. And I really look forward to connecting with you again in chapter 19. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, engage, participate in the conversation. Until we meet again, be well, enjoy the now, and I look forward to connecting with you more deeply.